I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. It really is. I'm pointing to him. And this is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Formerly Delayed with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. Powers, how you doing?
Great. I tried to give just enough delay to reminisce about the delay. I gave a strong pause today. I've learned that based on the feedback in your Facebook comments that people really appreciate the delay, so I tried to reintroduce it this week.
How's the Power Zone?
The Power Zone is awesome, man. It was blessed by Matt Stepp's presence at the end of last week.
In a Hawaiian shirt.
Hawaiian shirted Matt Stepp.
I'll also notice that the Power Zone has a light that I'm not using.
Yes.
So is that a beauty light? What?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on how bright it is outside. Honestly,
Gotcha.
like when it gets cloudy, I'll turn that thing on. But if not, there's really no need for it because you've got a nice little natural glow.
Yeah, the lighting looks
today.
great. Now, the only thing I can see as I do the show is myself in the camera now. So we used to be able to look at the monitor whenever we're in our normal spots. So now if you catch me looking at the camera, I'm literally looking at myself.
Well, that's... Boy. I mean, you're just kind of telling on yourself now.
Well,
I don't tell people that all I'm doing is looking at myself. But
it's true. That's my monitor. My monitor is now me.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's get to the This Week in Recruiting. A lot to get to, Powers. Of course, it's up on TexasFootball.com. We're going to start with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise going to the Houston area. Houston St. Thomas wide receiver Cameron Bonner has picked up a couple of new offers. One from North Texas. And one from Wisconsin. Those are two...
Not Those
are two
I don't know what that
quite diverse things.
North Pole, South Pole.
He's already got offers from Baylor, Houston, SMU, UTSA, Pittsburgh, Illinois, Utah, and Virginia Tech. This is a guy there at Houston St. Thomas that we've been talking about this school quite a bit.
Right. It's the second week in a row a Houston St. Thomas player was named prospect on the rise in the recruiting notebook presented by Chicken Express.
Thank you.
What I think is really cool about Bonner is he's a guy who has the length and measurables to not only project at wide receiver on the next level, which he's a really good one. He racked up over 1,200 yards and scored 12 touchdowns last year. But he is a player that could also be a defensive back prospect. He came to the Next Level Athlete Showcase not this year but last year and worked out at DB and looked really good playing that position. So he's a very versatile prospect, could do multiple things on either side of the ball, and it'll be interesting to see what his true calling is once he arrives on the scene in college, because he's a guy that, like I said, he has the ability to lock players down as a cornerback, but he also is a touchdown machine on the offensive side. And he's got a very diverse offer list as well. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Wisconsin to North Texas, and then a pretty good array of in-state schools to mix with some good P5 schools out of state. So it's an interesting mix of schools for him.
There is Cameron Bonner, the wide receiver from Houston St. Thomas, a guy that certainly you should know, and a guy that I think is going to continue to rack up offers. It seems like a no-brainer for North Texas to offer them. The Wisconsin offer is interesting. Wisconsin doesn't offer a ton of wide receivers.
Right.
Like, they just don't. And generally speaking, like, you don't see them come down to Texas except to generally for offensive line.
DBs.
They come down and get DBs.
And that's an interesting thing to think about when thinking about Bonner, because he can do that. But I would say, I mean, Houston has offered both him now, and then last week Maddox Kopp, the quarterback there, picked up an offer from Houston. The Cougars have an offer out to both of those studs on St. Thomas's roster. Is that something that we should probably monitor pretty closely with those guys? I'm going to say maybe. It's a strong maybe.
Let's go to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week is kind of we could have done like a 1-2 punch here, because it came down. Did they come down simultaneously?
Within 1 minute of each other, I think. I mean, I think it was done on purpose.
Right. Our commit of the week is Dallas Kimball 2021 cornerback Ishmael Ibraheem, the pride of Kimball, my mom's alma mater. He has pulled the trigger. He has committed to Texas, had offers from all over, and he committed. The thing that was most interesting is that he is our number one cornerback in the state, according to TexasFootball.com. The number 19 prospect. He's a member of the 2020 Whataburger Super Team, preseason Super Team, and he wasn't alone he was part of a double dip in the DFW area as J.D. Coffey also pulled the trigger for Texas.
Definitely a great week for the Texas Longhorns, especially on the defensive side of the football and the defensive backfield, to be able to land not only the number 1 cornerback in the state in Ibraheem, but the number 2 safety in the state in J.D. Coffey from Kennedale. Before we dive into Ibraheem, Coffey is one of those guys who started as a freshman. So he's a very experienced player and has put up some sick statistics in his high school career. I think he has 14 interceptions maybe heading into his senior year. So he's one of those guys who's going to go down probably in the record books if he has another strong season. Developed from a cornerback into a true safety prospect, but he can bring a little bit of everything to the table. But Ibraheem is rated a little bit higher in the DCTF top 50, and I think that's based upon his upside as a lockdown island corner. You don't find too many guys who are in this 6 foot, 6'1", 170-pound range who can truly flip their hips and hang with receivers like Ibraheem does, and he has the potential to not only develop on the field, but he has that potential when you look at him to see the upside as he develops in the strength and conditioning program, and Texas has one of the best ones, not only in the state of Texas. Texas is known for its strength and conditioning program nationally. So I think that Ibraheem will really grow at UT in the Austin area and become an all-American type of player for Texas.
He's a big-time playmaker. This is a really nice week, and I guess a really nice – it was Monday, right?
Yes,
yeah,
Tuesday.
It's a really nice Tuesday there for Texas.
No, you were right, Monday. My bad.
Thank you.
Today's Wednesday.
There's no way that's right. It's a really nice day there for those Texas Longhorns. They pick up a pair of key cogs in the secondary there with Ishmael and Ibraheem from Dallas Kimball, and of course Kennedale's J.D. Coffey. We're talking about We're talking about This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1, and get involved with our conversation at #TF Today. Let's go to our underclassmen of the week. Let's go to the DFW Metroplex and talk to Argyle. Argyle 2022 offensive lineman Sheridan Wilson has picked up another pair of offers to add to his growing list. These come from a pair of Power 5, one from TCU, one from Arizona State. Argyle figures to have one of the best offensive lines in 4A, and Sheridan Wilson's a big reason why.
I mean, can you imagine you're a 4A school and you could potentially line up across from you on the defensive front, Jack Tucker, Sheridan Wilson, and then Jasper Lott coming across in motion to that side of the field. There are going to be some lanes cleared for the Argyle Eagles this year as these guys continue to only get better and better with each passing week. Wilson was one of those guys who really stood out at the Next Level Athlete Dallas Showcase held at South Lake Carroll earlier this year, and really at 6'5", 260 pounds, is a prospect who's starting to grow into his frame. I think that he could be a true center or offensive guard prospect at the next level, and you're starting to see him start to catch some steam. North Texas and Texas Tech have already extended him an offer, and I'm sure Jack Tucker, his line mate there at Argyle, who is a Red Raiders commitment, is in his ear constantly about playing for Texas Tech. But now there's some stiff competition because TCU is at the local school and does a really good job of recruiting guys in this area to play for them. But we're only touching the tip of the iceberg for Wilson. As he goes through the recruiting process, his list is going to at least triple, but probably before he makes a decision.
Well, and you're talking about a guy who was a key part of their offensive line last year as a sophomore. You know, now entering his junior season, you feel like his frame can still fill out. This is a guy who I think is only going to get more and more popular among the recruitniks out there. A guy that, and especially playing, he's a guy that, look, spoiler alert, Argyle's probably going to be pretty good this year, and they're probably going to be pretty good next year because they're pretty good pretty much every year.
Right.
And so he's going to be playing deep into playoffs. He's going to start to get noticed more and more.
The number 2 team in the preseason 4A D1 ranking. So, I mean, this is a team that everybody's going to have circled on their schedule when they play them, and a lot of eyes are going to be on Argyle this year. And he's one of those guys that I describe as a mauler, and maulers typically get better as they get more confident and older. Mm-hmm. So he had pretty good tape as a sophomore, but I can only imagine what he's going to do the next 2 years for Argyle.
And I remember watching him at this camp, and you can see it here on the one-on-one drill specifically. He gets it. Like, mentally, he knows where people are going. He's got that quick reaction time that is impressive for a person that was coming off their sophomore year.
Absolutely. No, I know he was really, really impressive at the Next Level Athlete Texas Top 100 back, what feels like 17 years ago. And finally, let's get to our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week, we're going to Garland, Lakeview, Centennial, but we're not talking about Kamar Wheaton.
Right?
Wow. We're talking about their center, Ezra Oyetade.
Yep.
Oyetade, first time. He's accepted an invitation to play in the 2021 All-American Bowl in San Antonio on January 2nd. It's easy to get lost in looking at Kamar Wheaton because their running back is really, really good, and we've talked about him a lot on this segment. But the guy plowing the road for him is pretty good as well.
Oh, and what you notice is that Wheaton does a really good job of hitting the middle of the field and then bursting to daylight. Well, Oyetade is one of those guys who makes that easy for him because he clears lanes right up the middle. He transitions to the second level very easily, and he's another one of these guys who has a huge upside. And to be honest, he now has 26 offers, and to be honest, that's kind of slid a little bit under the radar. It's another one of those lists that's kind of all over the place, but his P5 offer list is really starting to expand in recent weeks. Schools like Arizona State and this week Missouri and Rutgers stepping up to the plate for him, and was recognized as an All-American this week as he earned an invitation to play in that game on, I think it's January 2nd in San Antonio this year, 2021, and he quickly accepted that invitation. So we'll get to see him on national TV as he lines up against some of the nation's best and shows them what Texas high school football is all about. He's a true center prospect.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, he's a true center prospect. He plays center already. He's really good at it. So he's one of those guys who, when you're putting together an all-star game roster, that you need. And I think that he'll fit the bill perfectly for the West squad. That's where all the Texas players, they play on the West team in the All-American game. So he'll anchor the offensive center position in that game.
Yeah. Well, that's why the West has won it nearly half the time. I don't know. I don't.
The West holds its own. I mean, I think the West is usually pretty good.
Well, yeah. It's got the Texas kids.
There you go.
Nice, Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete over there in the Power Zone. Follow him on Twitter, GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter and Next Level D1. Find his fine work, mostly fine work, at texasfootball.com/recruiting. By the way, have you gotten any tweets or DMs yet about any kids you've left out of the magazine?
Yes, I've seen them. I saw one earlier
I saw a couple.
today.
Some.
It wasn't at you, but
the top 300. It's really hard to crack. And furthermore, our top 300, it's honestly, we need to like do a better job of kind of describing that, because it is the top 300, but like if it's a really good year for quarterbacks and a really bad year for offensive linemen,
right,
we're still going to have like 25 quarterbacks and we're still going to have like 40 offensive linemen. Like,
sure.
That's kind of, I don't know. It's a
well, there's only one quarterback and there's 5 offensive linemen on every team.
Right, exactly. But that's the thing, is that like it is the top 300, but like it's also fair to say that like maybe the 240th best prospect is actually like the 27th best quarterback.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so he gets left off that like, I don't know.
I missed the tweet. I haven't seen it yet. But the position I think that has the biggest gripe is wide receiver in the state of Texas, because you can go so far down the list, and guys who got left off of the top 300 at the wide receiver position any year in the state of Texas are going to have a gripe, and they should rightfully so have a gripe. There's only so much print space. And I'll also preface that these top 300 lists, we put that together very early, and a lot of players emerge after that, and it makes the way you lay out a magazine makes it really tough to go back and make mass changes to any type of extensive lists because they're laid out in alphabetical order and by position.
Yes.
So that makes it tough. So when you say the deadline is X date,
I know
that's literally the deadline, and it's an early deadline. So
I'm a jerk. I know. But everybody knows that.
yeah, this is we're directing all the tweets at you.
Yeah,
here on out.
yeah, that's what I was.
My
Just
Twitter.
Please refer.
Yes.
Please send your tweets.
Please send your
to
tweets to me on Twitter at Ashley_pickle12. That's at Ashley_pickle12. I know it sounds weird that's my Twitter handle, but just let me have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Powers, appreciate it. Let's do it again next week.
Let's do it.